Thank you for tuning in this week for a reading of Setsuko's Secret. This week we'll be talking about the life of Estelle Ishigo, a Caucasian woman who accompanied her husband Arthur, who was Japanese American, into Heart Mountain during World War II. We rescued her artwork that was created at Heart Mountain by halting a public auction and working with the Japanese American community. I look forward to sharing this reading with you.
Estelle Ishigo and her luminous, evocative artwork is fused with the history of Heart Mountain. No study of the years the camp existed can be complete without an understanding of Estelle and the art she created while incarcerated there. It all starts with the fact that as a white woman, she had a choice of whether she wanted to be there. She went to Heart Mountain voluntarily because she loved her husband, Arthur. She found solidarity with the Japanese American community in Los Angeles and later at Heart Mountain. Estelle's art flourished on the scrubby plains of northwestern Wyoming, commissioned by the War Relocation Authority to chronicle the lives of the incarcerees through her sketches and paintings. She brought a keen and sympathetic eye to the conditions inside the barbed wire. These are not idealized paintings of happy children or industrious Asians who put the best face possible on their plight. No, her art bristled with the daily indignities of life at Heart Mountain, such as going to the toilet exposed to everyone else in the latrine building. Freezing residents endured the wind, snow, and sub-zero temperatures to collect coal to heat their tar paper barracks without insulation. Families huddled around their wood stoves inside the barracks to eat and share stories. Boys with a kite climbed part of the barbed wire to play. These watercolors are as vivid as they would have been if they were painted with the most expensive oil paints. It was in part because of the value of Estelle's work and the outsized importance it has among the Nisei and the incarceree community that I was particularly incensed to read a March 2015 article in the New York Times about a collection of about 450 Japanese American artifacts coming up for public auction. I was reminded of the suffering of my parents and grandparents when they were unjustly forced from their homes on the West Coast and wrongly incarcerated in isolated areas during World War II. The artifacts had been procured by the arts and crafts expert and collector Alan Hendershot Eaton, and from the article it appeared to me that the current owner's family and the Rago Auction House of New Jersey did not fully appreciate the personal, emotional, and even spiritual meaning these objects had for many in the Japanese American community. Reading the New York Times article about the art auction made me think about our moral and ethical obligation to advocate, resist, and fight for what we believe in. In this case, it means recognizing the significance of a public sale of camp artifacts crafted out of the talent, suffering, and hope of a population that was wrongly incarcerated during World War II. At first, however, the divisiveness that plagued the Japanese American community stood in our way. Activists like Nancy Yukai began a Facebook campaign called Not for Sale to publicize the unfairness of the auction, but they did not get support from the institutions. The actor George Takei of Star Trek fame, who was incarcerated as a child in Tule Lake, joined in and gave us vital public support, but the sale deemed destined to go on. The seller, whose ownership of the art always seems suspicious to us, indeed refused to sell. So we hired a New Jersey law firm to file an injunction on the basis of the legal theory that the Japanese Americans had entrusted their work to Eaton for public interest purposes and not for private gain. Eventually, the owner of the collection, John Ryan of Connecticut, surfaced and canceled the auction. We have tried to be good stewards of this material and protect it over the years, Ryan told the Times. We weren't trying to extort money from anyone. We were not sure if that was true. After all, the Times had reported on the curious way the art came into John Ryan's possession. Eaton's daughter, Martha, had inherited the pieces when her father died. She sold some of them to Thomas Ryan, John Ryan's father, a Yonkers contractor who repaired Mrs. Eaton's house after a fire, the Time reported. When she died in 1990, Thomas Ryan served as the executor of her estate and received her property, including the rest of the camp artifacts. That was challenged in court by some of Martha Eaton's friends and relatives, but the judge ruled in favor of Thomas Ryan. Ryan then passed the art to his son when he died in 2008. So the legitimacy of Ryan's ownership always seems like an open question to us. And as I told the Los Angeles Times, the only thing that stopped them was the threat of an injunction. Ryan then sold the art to the Japanese American National Museum. We started working with the museum and the families of their items creators to find the best way to share these artifacts, such as Estelle Ishigo's art, with the sites and institutions where they would have been and have the most positive meaning and impact. Estelle Ishigo's drawings and paintings from the Eaton collection came home in May 2018, courtesy of the Foundation's growing relationship with the Japanese American National Museum. The artwork lined the walls of the exhibit space in the Heart Mountains Interpretive Center, the result of our successful fight to save it from an auction that might have scattered it around the world. I know that if Estelle Ishigo were still alive, she would want her artwork to be displayed at Heart Mountain, the place where she wanted her ashes spread after her death.
Thank you for joining us this week. And thank you to all of you that are continuing to support our center under the COVID crisis. I recently learned from our executive director that we'll slowly be reopening our museum by appointment only. But in the meantime, most of you have received this letter asking for a donation to support our staff and to support our operations. We're still continuing to develop the site, including the root cellar and the surrounding areas, to improve service once we're open fully. And we're also continuing our online presence. So thank you so much for donating and supporting us. We have a splendid staff that we want to continue supporting until we're fully recovered from the pandemic. Stay safe and see you soon.